Good morning, y'all. So I cannot believe that this is our last chapter for our little summer book series that we've been doing here all summer long, reading through my book, Getting Good with Money. So we're going to be in chapter 11 today. Chapter 11 is not the last chapter. There's actually a chapter 12, but chapter 11 is one of my favorite chapters, and I kind of stuck it towards the back of the book just because, one, I liked it so much that I wanted to try to force people to read all the way towards the end of the book, but also, too, because I think it's super important, and I know that for my family, like, throughout our debt-free journey, like, every little step that, we progressed and we achieved and we were successful at, it was funny that these sort of, these lies would start to kind of crop up a little bit, almost like imposter syndrome would kind of like creep in. And sometimes it was really, really hard to keep going and to keep progressing forward. A lot of people call that the messy middle. And, because my family experienced that, and in talking with a bunch of other people, their families experienced it as well, I wanted to include this chapter in our summer book series where we are talking about replacing money lies with truth. Because we all do this, whether it's about money or whatever. We all tend to lie to ourselves sometimes. Like, we convince ourselves of something, we say it's true, but it's really not true. And so sometimes we have to be very cognizant of that and really force ourselves to speak truth and to speak light into our lives. So this is going to be a little bit longer of a live. I'm going to actually be reading the entire chapter 11 to you because I think it is so important. There are 9 money lies that I included in Getting Good with Money. Of course, there are more that you could tell yourself, but these are kind of the more common ones that I not only told myself, that my husband told himself, but just throughout the years of sharing my family's debt-free journey, a lot of families have shared with me that they had similar experiences with these lies. All right, so we are in chapter 11. All my troubles would be over if I could just win the lottery. Have you ever told yourself a money lie? I bet you have. And maybe you have even believed that money lie about the lottery, that just winning the lottery would solve all of your troubles. After all, the lottery wouldn't exist if people didn't believe in it. But if you've even lived a little bit, you've probably heard a story of a Mega Millions lottery winner who lost it all. Some lottery winners are completely unprepared for their winnings, and trust me, friend, if you can't hang on to $10 when you're broke and making $30,000 a year, you won't be able to hold on to $10,000 making $300,000 a year. And you may even have trouble hanging on to millions of dollars if you won the lottery. That's because without proper disciplines, habits, and mindsets in place, it will be hard to achieve the goals and dreams you're working toward, no matter how much money you make or win. Thinking that winning the lottery will save you is one money lie we tell ourselves. Another common money lie is, I can't budget. Have you ever made a budget and then promptly forgotten about it or messed it up in some way? You can bet that I have made that mistake more than once, and guess what? I still make those mistakes. Even though I have been living a real life on a budget for nearly a decade with the discipline of a hopeful saint, yes, absolutely, because I'm still human. Because my husband is human. Because we're not perfect. Because we're not robots. But making mistakes is no reason to lie and tell ourselves that we can't budget. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, is born knowing how to budget. Sure, some folks are born into wealthy families, but that doesn't mean they know how to properly manage money. At some point in your financial journey, you're going to hit a major internal roadblock, a mindset that will derail you if you're not careful. Just like the devil likes to lie to us and tell us all sorts of things that aren't true, we like to lie to ourselves too. We can be our own greatest enemy on our path to debt-free success. You may be telling yourself, I can't pay off debt. I only make $30,000 a year. But I would challenge you to change your way of thinking. When you think you can't do something, you're giving yourself an excuse, an escape route from doing the hard work required to make the changes you want to see in your life. And since this feeling of can't and other lies will at some point creep up on you while you try to make the most out of your finances, I want to help you identify and reject some of those lies now so you can replace them with truths when they come up. All right, so the money lies we tell ourselves. Money lie number 1, it's not enough. Money truth number 1, starting small is better than not starting at all. If you believe that the money you have is not enough to help you achieve your goal, you are killing your progress before you even start. If you want to retire one day, save for an emergency fund, or pay off the 6 figures of debt you've accumulated, you're going to have to start somewhere. And starting small is better than not starting at all. Pat and I chipped away at our debt $5 at a time. Anytime we had an extra $5 in the budget, we immediately applied it toward the current debt we were working on. Of course, $5 at a time wasn't the only amount we ever paid to our debt. The point is, we started building a habit of putting money straight towards our debt anytime there was anything left over in the budget, even if it was only $5. Once we were debt-free, the extra money went to savings and then eventually to paying off the mortgage. And sorry, my neighbor, I don't know what they're doing. I think that's their four-wheeler. Now that money goes into our retirement. Most people balk at the idea of $5 payments because to them, that's nothing. They think, sure, it may buy me a Red Bull or a venti latte at Starbucks, but what is $5 going to do for my financial future? It can do a lot. In fact, in some ways, it can do more for your financial future than thousands of dollars. The habit of putting $5 towards your debt instead of buying snacks at the convenience store can take you from financially falling behind to financially succeeding. It's easy to get overwhelmed looking at a huge mountain of debt in front of you, but you'll never climb that mountain if you don't take the first step. Martin Luther King Jr. is often quoted as having said, "You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step." He's right. You don't have to see the full path in front of you to begin the journey. You simply must be willing to take the steps necessary to get you to your goal. If all you have extra this week from your budget after payday is $5, then put that to work for your future self and put a smile on your face because you just did more with $5 than most people do with $50. Money lie number 2. Budgets are for broke people. Money truth number 2. Everyone needs to watch over their money. Many people believe the lie that budgets are for broke people because people with money are not counting pennies. Now granted, I'm sure to a degree that's true. People with millions in the bank likely aren't counting their pennies, but I promise you the smart ones still know every dollar that comes in and out of their accounts and the purpose for each dollar. The truth is you need to have your eyes on your money. You need to be aware of what your money is doing. Someone I know didn't realize that a family member was siphoning money from them almost every day. You want to know why they didn't notice? Because they weren't paying attention to their money. This family member wasn't taking hundreds of dollars a day. They were only taking a few dollars here or there, but the amounts added up. In the end, it added up to over $3,000 before my friend caught on. Remember that whole mentality of thinking that small amounts don't add up? Well, here is a real-life example where they do. When you aren't actively watching over your money, those small amounts will find a way to disappear. If you don't want to be broke, make your quick start budget and stick to it. Make a regular habit of checking on your bank accounts. And for the love of everything holy, don't give people who aren't your spouse access to your money. Money lie number 3. I made a mistake and that proves I just can't get it right. Money truth number 3. The only true mistake is to quit trying. This one is for all of my beautiful fellow perfectionists out there. I can't tell you how many times I redid a budget because I didn't have it perfectly categorized. I get so upset when the budget didn't work out as I had planned because I just couldn't understand how this beautiful color-coded spreadsheet could fail me. It felt like utter betrayal. The cycle of feeling like I can never get the budget right caused me to quit over and over again. I mean, no one likes to fail, but it's even worse when it seems as if every time you try, you fail. So I would just give up. Maybe you've done that. Maybe your budget is not working in the perfectly manicured way you planned. Maybe you haven't hit that savings goal milestone yet. Maybe you still can't decide on the perfect emergency fund number. No matter what it is, I promise you there's no such thing as perfect anything when it comes to money. To give you another example, Pat and I committed the cardinal sin in the world of personal finance. Several years ago, we cashed out my 401k. In doing so, we not only forfeited the money itself and its future growth, but we also had to pay taxes on that money and fork over an additional 10% penalty for early withdrawal. Now, every part of me doesn't want to divulge this sin. I would rather tell you that I'm perfect with money and have only had a few bumps in the road. I would love to tell you that I would never go against what my finance professors taught me or what all the financial gurus who are smarter than me preach. But I can't tell you our story without including this black mark on our financial record. Why? Because more than likely, you have done this very thing. Or perhaps even worse with your money, such as refinancing your home several times and treating your home equity like a piggy bank instead of a wealth-building tool. But please know that the mistakes you've made don't define you, no matter what. Mistakes, in fact, are opportunities to learn and grow. When you begin to work on your finances, you are not going to be perfect at every aspect of it, and that is 100% okay. You're going to have budgets that don't work. You're going to make an unbelievably stupid purchase. You're going to invest in something that loses money. When those mistakes happen, give yourself the grace you need. You are not perfect, and that is so beautifully perfect. When I get caught up in a vicious perfectionism cycle, I give myself permission to fail. I will literally write down on a Post-it note, Jesse, you have permission to fail at learning how to save for retirement. And you know what? When I remember that, the pressure to be perfect rolls off and I can get back to work. The only thing I do not give myself permission to do is give up. No matter how many times I fail, I get back up and try again. No one else is going to do this hard work for me. So even though I fail, I must keep trying. Otherwise it won't get done. You fail only if you stop trying or refuse to learn from your mistakes. You can even use what you've learned from your mistakes to help other people, and maybe even your own children, avoid those same mistakes. You also don't need to make mistakes to learn from other people's mistakes. After all, isn't that one of the reasons that we're reading this book together? So to get better at managing your money and avoid financial mistakes, it's okay if you spot mistakes that other people are made. However, do not judge them. We all make mistakes. But take note and learn. You might save yourself a lot of money and a lot of grief in the future. Money lie number 4. I don't know how to do that. Money truth number 4. With time and effort, I can learn how to do that. Let me admit something. Not that long ago, I was terrified of investing. In fact, I knew very little about investing except that I was supposed to do it. For months, I told myself I didn't know how to invest and that it was too overwhelming to learn how. So you know how much progress I made towards saving for retirement in those months? Absolutely none. Here's the ironic part. I feared investing even though at that point in our financial journey, we were consumer debt-free and had a 6-month emergency fund. I had already done some really big, scary stuff in the world of personal finance. So why was I allowing the voices in my head to tell me I couldn't figure out how to do this new, scary thing? Because fear is incredibly powerful. Fear of the unknown will always hold us back. It will convince us we can never do that big, scary thing we know nothing about. But you know what, friend? You're already doing something most folks would never dare dream of. You're taking control of your financial future. And even though that's scary, you're doing it. You're making money moves that are incredibly difficult. You're learning, you're tweaking, you're taking the necessary risk. Don't allow anyone, including yourself, to tell you what you can and can't do. You're smart, and with some time and effort, you can learn how to handle money. Trust that. Money lie number 5. I don't deserve to have money. Money truth number 5. God gives us everything we own and expects us to steward it wisely. Maybe you've never suffered from the paralyzing fear of failing with something great you've been given, but I have. With the great blessings comes with great responsibility, and that responsibility, or the fear of it, can cause us to avoid taking action. Telling ourselves that we don't deserve it lets us feel as if we no longer have the responsibility of caring for it. Doing so makes it easy to skirt around our responsibility because we never claimed it. The reality is, though, we are called to be good stewards of what we've been given. No matter how much money you earn, you've been called to manage it well. Even if you don't earn 6 figures, you've been given responsibility over the money you do earn. You've been given the duty of saving and caring for your present needs, as well as those of your future self. Whether or not you've managed to save over $1 million for retirement, you are still responsible for using that money wisely. In my mind, anything and everything I have, money, cars, a house, an education, family, belongs to God. He gave those things to me, and He gets to tell me how and where to use them wisely. Money lie number 6. Being wealthy means having lots of money. Money truth number 6. Wealth comes in many forms, and we are wealthier than we realize. So let's define what it means to be wealthy. A quick Google search tells me that being wealthy is defined as having a great deal of money, resources, or assets. Therefore, being wealthy isn't 100% about money. Think about it. My family not only has 0 consumer debt, but we also no longer have a mortgage. We have almost a 12-month emergency fund and max out our Roth IRA contributions every year. You might call us wealthy. However, Pat still earns just a little over $40,000 a year in income. I promise you we don't have millions sitting in our bank account. Yet, I definitely feel as if I'm wealthy because of our resources and assets. For example, I have a wealth of time. I have time with my 3 children. I have time with my husband. I have time to show up and help a friend in need. Do I deserve to have this time? Yes and no. I deserve it in the sense that Pat and I worked hard to get our family to this point. So we're now reaping the fruits of that labor. But do I think that the world, the universe, the powers that be, or God Himself owes me this wealth? No. Do I think everyone is supposed to be living the same exact life that I'm living? No. I believe everyone must define for themselves their own version of wealth. Right now, our version is time. Our children are only in our care for a short while. Before long, they will be grown and on their own. So for us, this wealth of time is more important than millions of dollars sitting in the bank. So even though we aren't millionaires, we are wealthy. Money lie number 7. I can do it all. Money truth number 7. Slow and steady wins the race. If you've ever met Pat, you know that the amazing man I get to call my husband is a true I can do it all type of guy. He works harder than anyone I've ever known and has a heart 10 times the normal size. Everything he does is big. His only struggle in life is his tendency to go too hard and then burn out. Maybe you can relate to my hubby. Maybe you're just like him and you get excited about a new idea or adventure or strategy and just can't wait to do them all. So you charge out of the gate full steam ahead only to find yourself burned out, exhausted, and maybe even having to give up halfway through because there's no gas left in the tank. This, my friend, is the other lie we tell ourselves, that we can do it all, be it all, and have it all the time. If you have gone whole hog on this financial journey and are facing burnout, you may need to pump the brakes a little bit. Take a breather. If you try to do too much at once, you're not going to make the kind of progress you want to achieve. Instead, give yourself some time and grace on this journey, but not too much. I know how you hardworking folks need to be pounding pavement and taking ground. So I'm not suggesting you stop completely. I'm suggesting you walk instead of run. You see, it's tough when you are trying to build new habits and use new skill sets at the same time. You need to give yourself some room to breathe in the process. Let's say you've never been able to stick to a budget before. Your first step should be to make it your mission to stick to your quick start budget for at least 3 months before moving on and adding another habit to your routine. Once you have stuck to that budget and have been diligent about updating it when you stumble, you can add the next step, which is to build up your starter emergency fund. After you've achieved that goal, attack your list of debts. From there, move on to beefing up your emergency fund to 6 months worth of expenses. Do it all with your normal awesome aggressiveness, just one step at a time. The point is, Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't do it all at the same time. Be patient, work hard, and take it step by step. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Eventually, slow and steady will, in fact, win the race. Money lie number 8. I started too late. Money truth number 8. You're right on time. Maybe you've bought into the lie that says, I'm too late. I couldn't possibly learn how to manage money well at this age. Or, it's too late to start saving for retirement because I didn't start when I was in my 20s. If you're telling yourself it's too late, I want you to pause right there. Pause and call your thought out for what it is, a limiting belief. Instead, tell yourself you are exactly where you need to be. Maybe you're not where you want to be, but you are where you need to be. You are where you are for a reason. It's not too late. No matter your age, you're right on time. You can decide it's time to change at any point. Don't fall into believing you can't teach old dog new tricks because, well, you're not a dog. Yes, maybe it'll take you longer to save for retirement because you started later. That's okay. Maybe it'll take you more time to learn how to curb overspending because it's been a habit you've held on to for way too long. That's perfectly fine. It's never too late to take charge of your life and your money. When you tell yourself it's too late, you're not giving yourself grace. Tell yourself that you're right on time because, friend, you are in fact right on time. Money lie number 9. This is simple, so it should be easy. Money truth number 9. This is simple, but it's not easy. I had a friend once say to me that taking care of a newborn baby is simple. After all, if they are fed, clean, and safe, they don't ask for much because they don't know anything else exists. But as we all know, caring for a newborn baby may be simple, but it certainly is not easy. We all know we need to break bad habits and start good ones. That's a simple truth, but the hard truth is that breaking old bad habits and establishing new good habits is not easy. Likewise, even though many aspects of personal finance are simple, such as living on less than you make, that doesn't make them easy to do. We have a habit of confusing these two concepts and then beating ourselves up over it. If you're looking around at everyone else and wondering why you're not in XYZ place yet financially, stop. Don't look at anyone else. Instead, compare yourself only to the person you were last year. That's your competition, you, not your neighbor or your best friend. What did you accomplish last week or last month? Was that better than the week or month before? If so, pat yourself on the back because what you're doing may be simple, but it sure isn't easy. All right, so I know that was a ton to unpack, but as I was saying, we do lie to ourselves, and it's important when we catch ourselves lying to ourselves that we call out those lies and that we work diligently to speak truth into them, because we will do this to ourselves. We will tell ourselves, well, I can't do this. I can't save money because inflation is so high. And it's totally true that inflation is high. That's a fact. But it may not be true that you can't save money. You just may have to get more creative when it comes to saving money. Maybe you have to find a side hustle. Maybe you have to look at your budget and say, okay, we have 10 streaming services we pay for. Let's stop paying for 5 of them. Let's cut 5 of them out and then start putting that money towards our savings instead, or towards our debt, or whatever our current goal is. Sometimes we have to get creative when there are things that are maybe causing us to stress and to allow those excuses. As I had said earlier, a lot of times we tend to make excuses and skirt around our responsibilities because it's easier to take the path of least resistance. It's easier to make excuses and to avoid responsibility than it is to own up to our responsibility and own up to doing the hard, needed task in order to get ahead financially. And I know it's hard. I mean, this is and was my family's financial journey towards becoming 100% debt free. It definitely didn't happen overnight. It was very difficult, very, very hard. And there was a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. Like my dad passed away when we were on the debt-free journey. We added 2 children to our life when we were on the debt-free journey. And what started the whole or really sort of the bang that started the whole thing was my husband having a catastrophic accident at work that resulted in emergency surgery. And so, life is going to happen. It's going to happen, no matter what. We are living beings, so life is going to happen, and we can make all the excuses in the world. We can try to avoid taking responsibility, but at the end of the day, that just keeps us living in a life that isn't meant for us. And so if we want to own the life that God has planned for us, if we want to walk on that path that he has given us, that and it has made clear for us, then sometimes we have to take really hard steps to get off the path that we're currently on to walk on the other path. And so I just want to challenge you this week for our last challenge to the whole entire week, just really be thinking about it. Just start to kind of become cognizant and aware of something that maybe you're telling yourself that isn't true, and call it out and start working diligently to call out those lies and ask yourself, what can I do right now that's going to prove that that's a lie? What can I do that'll prove that it's a lie? If you're telling yourself that, I don't have enough money, what can you do right now to prove to yourself that that's not true? Can you just immediately take $5? Say all you have is $5. Can you immediately take that $5 and throw it towards your debt? Can you do something right now to prove that that's a lie? So that is your challenge for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm actually considering maybe in the fall, maybe October, November, doing another one of these series, going through different parts of my book, not the same parts. So leave me a comment in the comment section on the replay of this video to let me know if you would be interested in that. Thanks, guys.